Hey, good morning. Scott Luton and Greg White with you here on Supply Chain Now. Welcome to today's live stream. Greg, good morning. How you doing this Monday morning?
I'm doing well. Officially no longer morning. I got 12 o'clock and 30 seconds.
Always a stickler for the details. You are right, sir.
You know what? I am precise.
Well, hey, we have got a jam-packed show today, right?
Tell me about it.
This is the Supply Chain Buzz. We tackle a lot of the latest developments, the most important developments across in supply chain. We're going to dive deep into a retail rundown. There's no shortage of things going on in that space. And we've got an outstanding supply chain leader that's going to join us, especially from the automation standpoint. They'll join us about 12:30 today. So stay tuned. And right off the bat, Greg, Sophia is here on time.
She's got to be. She's reviewing this online, right? I mean,
That's
she
right.
is our online reviewer, so we have to be on our game.
Agreed.
Check her out. I love her recaps of this stuff, right?
Absolutely. The digital transformation recap she did a few days ago was really seemed to resonate. All right. So we talked about the special guest. We talked about how we're going to be working hard to increase your supply chain IQ. Quick programming note before we get started here today. If you enjoyed the live stream, check us out wherever you get your podcast from. Be sure to subscribe. So, Greg, you don't miss sessions like we published today, which featured Clay Phillips, who's usually behind the scenes, right?
Yeah. We got him on camera after only just over a year working with us. And brilliant, just amazing insights. Really great to see one more person from outside the supply chain trade come into the supply chain trade and add incredible value. So,
Well, it's home run stuff. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts from. Man, we've got a slew of experts that just joined the stream here. We got Jamin, of course, who will be on our Thursday live stream with a couple of special guests. Jeffrey Miller. We can't do a live stream without Jeffrey Miller, right, Greg?
Yeah, that's right. Thankfully, he showed up, or else we'd have to cut off the air here. Yeah. I saw Rafad is in, so awesome to see him here. He did a great superhero post over the weekend that I saw and was inspired by on Saturday. So thanks for that. And appropriately, two people from SoCal announcing that it is, in fact, morning in California. So
that's right.
My apologies, folks. And Scott.
Stefan, Carl, Phyllis, Josue. Hope this finds you well. Claudia is here. Got the whole gang is here. So let's one of the things we really like to do is we love getting feedback right on what we do here, Greg. And I'll tell you, really appreciate the reviews we're getting. We want to feature this one from Tangway. Tangway says, hey, Supply Chain Buzz, staying informed on the latest supply chain news. Scott and Greg provide interactive feedback, pertinent guests on the critical topics of the day. They always deliver the information with engaging discussion and humor to keep the topics relevant and meaningful. Keep up the great work, end quote. Hey, Tangway, really appreciate that. Means a lot.
Makes me want to sit up straight to hear that. We should open the show with that. It makes me feel really good. I mean, thank you, first of all, and great that we're delivering that kind of service. That's what we're always after.
Yep. All right, we're getting a little feedback, Greg. We may have a little internet connection challenge, so just a heads up there. Chris Barnes, supply chain doctor, just shot me a text. Okay, we'll work on that.
Well, maybe that's Chris.
Yeah, you never know. That's right. Hey, to our audience, again,
bring him on. Let's find out.
That's right. To our audience, hey, this is all about retail today here on Supply Chain Buzz. So I want to pose this question to you. What retail trends and news stories have you been tracking the most in recent weeks? Y'all let us know. All right, so let's dive into the first story because we have got, again, a jam-packed show today. And good morning or good afternoon to Daria and to Pierre, who's joining us again here on the Buzz. All right, so Greg, in this first story. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is going to be it's going to be the rapid fire session here because first of all, I want to point out that Supply Chain Dive gave us a ton of great articles here. So I'm sorry, actually it was Retail Dive.
That's right.
Yes, it was
Retail Dive.
Retail Dive. So I just saw a ton of great articles. I'm going to hit on them very, very quickly. So listen up.
So heads up. That's right. Hey,
quick.
Let's recognize Akshay, who this is his first live session with Supply Chain Now. So he's tuned in via LinkedIn Live. So thanks for joining us here today. All right. So Greg, before I dive into this lead article, you had a quick comment.
No, I mean, do you want to hit this one first?
Yeah, let's do it. All right. So to get things started, really enjoyed this article by Dan Gilmore over at Supply Chain Digest. It's all about a word we're using regularly. In fact, this word came up in the pre-show, right? Seismic changes, all about seismic changes. In particular, this article talks about Nike and Lowe's and how some of the changes they're making could be a sign of things to come across the retail industry and retail supply chains, especially as it relates to their go-to market strategies. So I want to focus in on Nike on this first segment. We'll touch on Lowe's briefly, but in October 2019, Nike announced that it was planning to reduce the number of retail channels it sold through. Get this, Greg, from 30,000 globally to 40. 40, not 400, not 4,000.
Not 40,000, because when you told me that earlier, I think you might have mentioned that over the weekend.
Right.
I thought you meant they went from 30,000 to 40,000. So down to 40. Okay.
40.
Let's hear about that.
So it's going to focus on these fewer partners and, of course, direct to consumer. So that wasn't lip service from Nike. They've been moving fast to implement. Some of the stores that you're not going to find Nikes in anymore. Zappos, Dillard's, Fred Meyer, and this one hurt me, Belk. I don't know where you got your first pair of Nikes from, but I bought my first pair of Nike Cross trainers, the Bo Jackson version, back in the late 80s at my local Belk in Aiken, South Carolina. So, but no longer. No Nikes will be found at Belk anymore. In June, Nike said it's all about its, quote, consumer direct acceleration program, end quote. So, how's that playing out in numbers? So e-commerce sales in Nike's fourth quarter, which of course ended May 2020 for Nike, that was a bad quarter for plenty of folks in retail. But e-commerce is up 75%. So hey, there's that. But here's an interesting item that I missed. This came out back in late 2019 in terms of the plan. I missed it. Nike is in the process of embedding RFID in almost all of its footwear and apparel. So Nike CEO Mark Parker said, quote, RFID gives us the most complete view of our inventory that we have ever had. It's quickly becoming the most precise tool in our arsenal to meet an individual consumer specific need at the exact right moment, end quote. Nike, of course, in other news, other ways they're baking technology into this huge shift. They're leveraging predictive analytics to vastly improve its ability to match inventory to consumers' demand. So a lot of early on and highly technical and a seismic shift is taking place at Nike in particular, where you're going to be able to find and purchase Nike footwear and apparels. So I want to touch on Lowe's real quick because the other part of this article really touched on Lowe's and Home Depot. So Greg, I think we covered here a few weeks back, Lowe's made the big announcement, right? $1.7 billion in a supply chain expansion.
Right.
That came like a week or two later, a week or two after Home Depot made a very similar $1.2 billion announcement in terms of its supply chain investment. But as Dan Gilmore points out in this article, the strategies behind the expansions are different, but they have one common goal. And that is both companies want to move away from store-based deliveries, right? Let their supply chains and supply chain professionals and the technology handle that rather than put that burden on the retail teams.
Yeah, it's really disruptive to store operations, I'm sure.
Yep. Outstanding article. Supply Chain Digest is one of my go-tos. I really have enjoyed the content over the years. Dan's article here really laid out some really neat insights and perspective on some of these big changes taking place. So check that out. And Greg, before I get your comments on this first article, I want to let a few audience members, and Sylvia from Charleston, great to have you. She says, from the blueberry jam capital of the world, Charleston, South Carolina. Love that.
That's the blueberry jam capital of the world, Sylvia's house.
So Amanda says, wow, as a consumer, I have never, not once, bought a Nike product directly from Nike because of the price. Far cheaper from retail partners. Wonder how the retail price will be affected. Good point there, Amanda. The champagne industry. So Memory, this is one of the retail developments she's been tracking. And hello, Memory from Johannesburg. The champagne industry is reducing the amount of grapes it harvests to keep the industry viable. Was struck by how it seems to be a trend to let produce waste than harvest it all. Interesting stuff there from Memory. Claudia, precision is a concept rapidly becoming the focus of innovation, starting with precision medicine and precision horticulture as two examples. And then, Greg, one final comment from Jeffrey Miller here. It may not be a leading reason behind the narrowing of retail channels, but returns and reverse logistics are huge drags on margin. A lot of attention being paid to improving these models. Fewer channels to market helps. Good stuff there from Jeff. All right, Greg, what on this first story here, quick take from you.
Not knowing what Nike's e-commerce sales were before, I'm not sure whether I should be impressed by a 70%, 75% uplift or not. I've seen Nike go this way. Frankly, they started this way with more exclusive distribution. I worked with the Sports Authority, which no longer exists, but in the day when they could not get Nike or couldn't get sufficient allocation from Nike, and they had to prove to Nike that they could distribute all the goods that they got. Further, on the whole story, Nike, being in the personal training health industry, and Lowe's and Home Depot have both hugely benefited from the pandemic as people try to get in shape, or at least not gain more than the COVID-19 pounds that are mandated by this pandemic. But
Right.
But also staring at the windows and doors and trees and whatnot in their house. And finally, as our guest coming in said, finally doing some of those home improvement projects that they've been waiting on. Right. So there's no surprise, though I think we were all surprised at first, but no surprise now that those companies are flying high. I'm not sure what to think about 40 outlets, and particularly dropping some of the biggest. I mean,
Right.
Zappos, I assume, though I don't buy shoes there, I assume they're still one of the biggest online shoe outlets. And to Amanda's point, I've only ever seen it much more expensive to buy Nikes on the Nike site than in any store.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about one chain, though, that sporting goods chain that is exploding during this time in the next segment. So,
well, great point. And the price points, and as well as some of the other dynamics that consumers face when trying to find what they want at the right price, right colors, all that stuff. It'd be really interesting to see how all this evolves. But to your point, in this next segment, y'all, audience, hang on, because we're going to take a deep dive into the retail rundown here on the Supply Chain Buzz this Monday afternoon, August 31st. Where did August go? Wow. All right. So, Greg, I'm going to pop over to Retail Dive. Let's see if this is going to, oh, there we go. Okay. So you woke up this morning, or maybe over the weekend a couple of times, and and you loved what Retail Dive was putting out, right? They've been kind of a go-to.
I'm not asking you to, but folks, I would just encourage you, if you have any interest in retail and understanding what's going on in retail right now, pop into this page. This is just their homepage at retaildive.com, and just scroll through some of these stories over the last week or two that they've presented, and they are an incredible juxtaposition of good and bad fortunes, of growth and tragedy in the industry, including a listing of the 26 major bankruptcies in retail just this year. It just struck me. I actually was planning to present something else, but it just struck me. So what I'd like to do, Scott, if I may, is to kind of take a quick pass through this.
Yep. I'm buckled in, ready to go.
Yeah, everybody get ready. Here it comes, and it's coming fast. Gap closes 225 stores in 2020 and will close more in 21. Their sales were down dramatically, of course, during the pandemic, and they are consolidating and a new justification process for their brands brilliant. This is a brilliant move by their CEO, Sonia Singhal, and their CFO, Katrina O'Connell, two female C-level executives, right? Thank you, people. Since their arrival last year, they have mandated that any banner must re-earn its place in the brand. And that includes brands like Old Navy, Athleta, and Banana Republic. So no, there are no sacred cows at the Gap anymore. Earn it or be gone. Ulta's net income falls 95% as e-commerce grows by more than 200%. Even though comp sales declined almost 27%, don't think this retailer is not profitable or that they're failing. They and recognize too that they are not standing pat. They made $329 million in Q2 and are making changes to make themselves more e-com friendly, including buy online, purchase in store, and curbside pickup, and an online facility to schedule services in the store. I did not know this. In some Ulta stores, you can get your hair cut there.
Really?
Yeah.
There's lots of business, lots of demand.
I just thought it was where my daughters went to buy makeup. And just one story. This is sad, though a long time coming with no buyer in sight. Lord & Taylor does liquidate all its stores. This 194-year-old retailer finally gone under, but frankly, in the last few years, it had become mostly a real estate play. And guess who owns their flagship store in Manhattan?
Who?
That's right. Amazon. Amazon bought their flagship store in downtown Manhattan. So, in recent years, Amazon has made a play to be relevant in the fashion industry. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Tiffany swings back to profitability in Q2. Sales in August appear to be trending above 2019. And another advancement, the company will provide traceability to each stone it sells in an effort to try and avoid conflict mineral crises, right? Another challenge, by the way, if Nike can do all this tracking and incredible technology in their shoes, it would be great if they could use similar technology to assure that Chinese slaves are not producing their product.
Point.
This one is near and dear to my wife's heart, so I had to include this. Dollar stores get another boost from pandemic shopping habits in Q2. Dollar General, Dollar Tree, anything with dollar in the name, but particularly Dollar General, Dollar Tree, and Family Dollar, all up in sales in the previous quarter. Also, discount retailers like Walmart and Target and others seeing success as consumers tighten their belts, right? I'm going to give a little personal comment here. I'm going to out our family and tell you that if you've ever gotten a greeting card from the White family, that it came to you from a dollar store. And if you ever saw us eating candy at the movies, it likewise came from the dollar store, snuck in. I hope that's not illegal because I just gave myself up. Defy you to prove it.
No shortage of storage. You got more, Greg.
I want to do two more just real quick. Bed Bath & Beyond lays off 2,800. Look, I'm not going to go into the details here, but let me tell you, this is pure opinion on Bed Bath & Beyond. This is a company in desperate need of going 100% e-com. And also, and we've talked about that in the past. First of all, their brand is well respected. Their product mix is unmatched. Their stores are absolutely unshoppable because they have 10,000 of everything in there. But their location in power malls and in urban areas and suburban areas are perfect for last mile distribution, as well as buy online, pick up in store, BOPUS, and curbside delivery. So there is a chance for this company once they get their act together. Here's the story of the quarter of the year. Dick's emerges as the COVID-19 era winner with Q2 comp store sales up 20.7%. Because in addition to the gym crowd pivoting to working out from home, many less active, let's be kind and say less active consumers have engaged in fitness over the past few months.
Well, Patrick Kelly, produce industry podcast host, says that's where he goes and gets his Nikes, from Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yeah.
So Patrick, yep. Hopefully this finds you well. A couple comments on all your hot takes you're bringing, Greg. And you saw your daughter, Delaney White, weigh in. Long live dollar stores, right? So Clay asked,
that's where they get their birthday presents.
Rhetorically. So Kanye didn't save the Gap. I guess he did not.
He hasn't saved America yet either, but we're still hopeful.
Jamin is a big BOPUS fan, and I'm glad you shared what that acronym stands for everybody, Greg. We love our acronyms here in the supply chain world. So Nerfad, who has a thing for hair removal cream companies reach out to me to be their hair removal model for their marketing campaigns. They say, "Oh, you're so shiny, come advertise with us. We pay you a bunch of money." I'll definitely keep it on the back burner and take a rain check for now. So still wishfully thinking my hair will come back.
Just imagine Nerfad, yes, as a model in an Ulta store, right? Yes, put him by the capitalist hats.
Right. Let's see, a comment from our friend Aaron Peterson. Aaron, I saw you on LinkedIn over the weekend. Hopefully this finds you well. And I think you're graduating soon, if I'm not mistaken. Aaron, Greg, if you remember, Morgan State University supply chain program.
Yeah.
Matriculating through, great, sharp thought leader here. Dollar General has really been doing great. I did a case study on them last semester, and man, I have seen more Dollar General trailers on the highways nowadays. I agree with you, Aaron. They are
building stores explosively. I've got to tell you, everywhere you can buy Hunt Brothers pizza or a crispy, crunchy chicken, it is next door to a Dollar General.
That's right. All right, moving fast to the comments because we're going to be bringing on our guest here momentarily. Clay says, any idea how the TJ Maxx Marshalls department chain is doing? Our Buckhead store's inventory has been slacking. I feel your pain, Clay. Greg?
It seems like I heard that they are not doing great, which does seem a mite ironic. On the other hand, a lot of their inventory comes from overruns, overstocks, and seconds from first-tier retailers. So when those companies aren't selling, they also and historically they have not been liquidating goods either. So we did a story some time back where a lot of those retailers have been holding on to this spring's goods potentially for next spring, because instead of green being the new black or whatever the color will be, they're going to save it for next spring, and green will be the new black for next spring.
Hey,
whatever the color is.
That's right. Benjamin Goldklang is with us here this morning, and we just want to say congratulations because Ben got a new job and hired Ben. He did.
I wondered why Joseph Valentine wasn't on here with his hire Ben hashtag, right?
So congratulations from our entire team here to you, Benjamin Goldklang, and let us know in the comments what you'll be doing again.
Yeah.
And then Sophia,
and don't go away just because you found success. Remember us little people when you're up there at the top.
That is right. Hey, Sophia asked Greg, what about traceability for counterfeit products? Excellent question. Traceability and visibility, you'd be hard pressed to find more buzz about two big topics in supply chain, right?
I think in any market where you can trace the goods for non-conflict, you can trace it for sustainability and for counterfeit as well. And yes, actually, the cannabis industry is a really good example for being able to do that, both from a compliance with law and for a compliance with non-counterfeit procedures. But yes, absolutely, that needs to come about. I would love it if someone could put in the comments, what is the most counterfeited product on the planet? I can't wait to hear what everyone's take is on that.
Trivia question Monday is here on the buzz. Hey, Sylvia Judy says with Steinmart closing, you're going to see a bump up in inventory at TJ Maxx.
Excellent point. That's an excellent point. And my wife was quite sad about that. I'm not too familiar with Steinmart, though I have a friend who works there.
Well, I'm going to, at the office store around the corner. I'm not gonna shame them. Man, the aisles have been. I mean, it's like a ghost town. So I'm not sure what the some of the challenges are, but we have been moving all those needs online. All right, so let's see here. Aaron says, "Hey, Scott won't be graduating until fall 2023 or spring 2024. I've got to complete 240 credits."
I think Aaron, I think if you promoted that paper on Dollar General more, maybe they would let you skip a few years.
That's right. He says he's jumping into blockchain this semester. Talk about traceability. That's going to be
right.
It's a great thing to study there, Aaron, and great to connect with you regardless. So
yeah,
look forward to big things happening. Okay, one additional shout out. We got a lively audience here today. Latia Thomas. Latia. Hope this finds you well. She is the president of the APIC student chapter at Morgan State University and a repeat guest here at Supply Chain Now. We need to bring her back on, Greg, because her last live stream, man, that was
next time she has to bring her parents, because I want to see who raised this young person into the amazing individual that she is, right?
That is right. All right. So with no further ado, Greg, we've got a great guest teed up here today. We really enjoyed the pre-show conversation. No shortage of passion, so I'm sure our audience will enjoy it as well. We're going to bring on.
Ask him what he thinks the most counterfeited product is, because I'm going to let everyone know whose guest no one has guessed it yet.
So we're going to welcome on to the Supply Chain Buzz here, Chris Lingamfelter, Vice President for Sales with 6 River Systems. Hey, Chris, good morning. How you doing?
I'm fantastic, guys. Thanks, Greg, Scott, for having me. I love what you do at Supply Chain Now, and I'm excited to be here. And good session so far this morning. Really interesting.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Thank you.
My pleasure. Greg, I don't know the answer. I do. I was involved. I provided a system years ago to Acushnet. They do Titleist, Pinnacle, and golf balls. Counterfeit golf balls was huge. I have no idea if that's the biggest one, but that's my guess. So.
Should we end everyone's pain just real quickly so we can get to Chris's topic?
Sure.
Olive oil. Olive oil is the most counterfeited product on the planet. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Who'd have thunk it? You need to be really careful, because a lot of times you're getting something totally else.
Really?
Yeah.
Had no idea.
I think we might have been here until next week guessing on that one.
Yeah, right?
So, Greg, we're going to dive right in with Chris. We got a lot of good stuff to tackle. So I'll let you start.
All right, Chris. So we probably ought to let everybody know who you are. Let them see your pennant behind you there, and they can get an idea. There we go.
So I, one of our co-founders, Jerome Dubois, got me into the Pan Mass Challenge last year. It's an event that it's actually the largest sporting event that raises money in the entire United States. It's really impressive. Cancer research. A lot of money goes to Dana-Farber, like $60 million a year through the Pan Mass Challenge. It's a 2-day bike ride across Massachusetts, and it's a lot of fun, and it's good work. So that's my.
Do they give tickets to people riding bikes across Massachusetts?
You know, I've never gotten a ticket myself. I've heard that happens in Germany. I used to work in Germany when I was with Dematic, but yeah, not to my knowledge. They do close one of the bridges over the Cape Cod Canal to let all 6,000 bikers go over once early in the morning. So yeah, it's a big deal.
Wow, that's awesome. So tell us a little bit about 6 Rivers and what they do, and maybe a little bit about your history too, because you have been in industry for a while. We say never more than 2 decades, Chris. Just in case you know.
Okay. Well, I think I'm 29 years, so I'm still like under the. I'm not into my 3rd decade, so I'm glad we're doing this now, not next year when I'd have to admit.
Have to confess, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So no, I've been in the space for a long time, 17 years on the software side, working for various warehouse management system companies, including the industry leaders, and got into the robot thing early at Kiva Systems. And I went there. I moved my family to Germany, and I ran system sales for Dematic for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Then I came back to the United States and helped Intelligrated get into robot systems as well, and now of course I've been here at 6 River Systems for 2 years. So that's me in a nutshell. Yep.
Great. So tell us a little bit about Six River.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know why I'm excited about it, and you probably know too. But
yeah, it's
a little bit about your company.
It's a really exciting company. So Jerome, Rylan, and Cece are three co-founders. Jerome and Rylan, I worked with back in Kiva days. So they left Amazon Robotics and decided to create a different kind of robot company. They started the company 5 years ago, and we introduced commercial availability of our first robot 3.5 years ago, and really there's been no looking back. We're now installed around the world, and about 20% of our installations are actually outside the United States. So company is growing. I'll touch upon it, but we were purchased a year ago by Shopify, and that's been a fantastic experience for both parties. So,
so that's really interesting, Chris. So one of the things that I did, and I think we talked about this a little pre-show, was I worked some with Amazon and the company that installs the now Amazon, what do they call it? Robotics, Amazon Robotics, formerly Kiva Systems. Exactly. But I also worked with their very first customer, which was Staples, before Amazon bought the whole thing. So got to see that starting to be installed, even when the founders still showed up for the installations and implementation. So it was very cool company, great folks. I'm glad they went on to continue to, continue to improve the industry.
Yeah, I mean, that innovation and that spirit of kind of doing things differently comes across with Six River Systems for sure. But our approach to robotics is different. The Kiva system was a goods to operator kind of solution where the robots brought everything, kind of like a giant vending machine where you just sort of sit in the front.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Whereas we're still 99% of the warehouses in the United States and 95% globally are still based on the principle of the operator traveling around the warehouse and collecting the merchandise. And that's how our system works. It's a operator to goods as opposed to goods to operator. So it sort of turns it, I explain it just quickly, Greg. On Saturday morning, when my wife sends me out on my my tasks, she sends me to the supermarket. And there I'm walking around collecting the stuff, and then I go to the dry cleaners, and that carousel that spins and the stuff comes out. It's more like that vending machine we were talking about. So those are the two principles that warehouses can really be based on from an automation standpoint.
I could arguably be collaboratively assisted in the grocery store because I have to have my wife on the phone to tell me what aisle and what to pick, right?
Now, wouldn't it be great if you had one of our Chuck robots and it showed you a picture of exactly what to pick and where to get it? I joke because I don't go supermarket shopping very often, but I'm like, why isn't it alphabetical? It would be so much easier.
Or maybe we use a Dewey Decimal System in our grocery stores. Maybe that help organize it.
Gosh,
All
I
right.
forgot about that.
So, Chris, let's, as you could tell, we are tackling a variety of big news stories across the retail industry. 2020 is such a interesting year in that for everyone, but certainly in that space. What's one story you're tracking here lately in retail?
Yeah, so interesting question. I would say for us, I mean, seismic changes all across all parts of our industry, and you nailed it. And I think the first part of this, today's show was absolutely about that. What we're seeing is, for our retail customers, and just as an aside, we have a handful of customers for sure who use our systems in non-retail settings, like for aircraft parts or plumbing parts or electronics, right? But for our retail customers, which comprise the majority of our customers, many of them are having peak level, it's all about, Black Friday, right? When your volume goes through the roof. A huge portion of our customers are having Black Friday volumes. It started in the middle of the pandemic, and it's just not stopping. So, we've been able to support them by growing their systems and shipping them more robots. But it's been a little bit interesting, and a lot of people are going, okay, so if I'm here, what's going to happen when the actual holiday peak hits? And it's a little bit scary for some of our customers.
Yeah.
So momentarily, we're going to talk about a great learning opportunity, market intel gathering opportunity for really everyone. But before we get there, what else? Tell us. I really enjoyed our pre-show conversation because you're like talking with the companies that are automating in real time, solving challenges and figuring out the right solutions for them. And you were sharing a lot of those insights and those snippets of conversations. It is fascinating. So, Chris, what else are some of the things you're seeing?
Well, and I'll tie it back to kind of what we were hearing this morning about Lord and Taylor and some other folks, right? It's all about being able to adapt quickly and change as the market changes, figuring out those changes and taking advantage of them faster than your competition can. Our system, we're able to install our system retroactively into existing buildings. We have a principle we call no new hardware, which means your existing aisles, your existing racks, your existing system that your warehouse or your dark store is based on, can we just go in and put our robots in without having to make major changes? And we can. And that is a huge advantage to our customers. We have one client in the Toronto area who installed their system in 6 weeks from frankly when they signed the contract with us to when they went live and had their first pick. And
wow. That's moving.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I just want to kind of set the record straight that I don't advocate that. I think a couple more weeks of planning, it might be a little bit better, but
in a pinch, I mean, at least it's available, right?
Exactly.
I mean, I sat in the conference room where we planned the Kiva rollout with Staples, and there had to have been 40 people in there, and it took longer to roll it out, even in stages at Staples, than it took Amazon to buy the company, frankly, because Staples was still in the rollout phase. So the rapid deployability of this is critical to help companies like some of those who have a chance at success, like Ulta, and like some of these discount retailers, to actually survive and to start to really get serious about e-com, right? So many of them are late to the e-commerce party, and they really need that rapidity. So, that's interesting. It's interesting too that you don't have to change the physical nature of it, because at least in the old days, you had to run kind of wires in or across the floor to guide the robots. So do yours not require that?
No. So our robots, they're a little like if you think about an autonomous vehicle on the road, and that upmarket, of course, is still evolving. But they're essentially autonomous vehicles that travel around the warehouse, knowing exactly where they are, where everything else is. And, it might go from point A to point B through the warehouse this way today, and tomorrow might take a different path just because there were obstacles, there was congestion. We path plan based on what we know is going on in the warehouse. So it's a pretty sophisticated system. Talking about the flexibility, I'll just give you another quick example. So we have a customer, Crate and Barrel, who has two systems of ours in one building. One supports retail, store fulfillment, getting the cutlery and whatnot, the small items to the stores, and the other supports e-commerce. A couple of years ago, when they had their peak, the retail peak, naturally it comes a few weeks before the peak on the e-commerce, because you need to get the inventory to the stores, people buying. But as it's coming quicker and quicker. And so we simply took some of their robots from one building, if you will, and moved it to the other building, decreased the capacity on the store side and increased the capacity on the e-commerce side. We did that in an hour, right? I mean, it would took longer just to move the robots over than anything else.
Yeah, and I think because retail is shifting. I mean, that's a story we've heard that robotics, in some cases, generally enables, but because e-commerce is shifting so quickly and we don't really know what consumers are going to do, the ability to be that fleet of foot is absolutely critical, right? Yep. I think another thing that's really it's inspiring about what you all are doing and the robotics capabilities that it provides to these companies is, and I wonder if this is a dynamic that you've seen with some of your customers. So many companies feel threatened by being on the Amazon marketplace these days, and there are good reasons for that we won't go into here. But and I've kind of identified this group of solutions, anyone but Amazon type. I call them ABA instead of FBA solutions, right? And people are flocking to these solutions, like Shopify, like 6 River, like all kinds of other solutions, so that they're not a slave to the Amazon marketplace and at least not a slave to both the Amazon marketplace and the FBA, the fulfillment by Amazon. So they've at least got some options for fair play, right?
Well, and I think since you brought it up, it's a great point, right? I mean, that's why a year ago, Shopify decided to acquire 6 River Systems, which was really their merchants that sell on the Shopify fulfillment platform. They were an alternative, right? They wanted another way to fulfill their goods. And, it only made sense. We announced that actually at our users conference last year, the acquisition. And understandably, several of our customers came up to me right after the acquisition. They're like, please tell me the robots are still going to be available.
Don't take them away from us. That's happened before. Yeah.
It's happened before. And we assured them then, and I can tell you 1 year later, not only are the robots available, we have more robots, we have more capabilities. The systems and our customer base has grown significantly in the last 12 months. So we executed on that well.
Love that. And I also love the story you shared pre-show about how y'all timed the announcement until after the
market
closed. Yeah. And then let everybody know.
Yeah, so we had our the first night, the opening reception of our Flow 2019 users conference on the Sam Adams roof deck at Fenway Park, and we delayed the kickoff so that we started literally at 5:01, and I welcomed everybody because at 5 o'clock the press release went out that Shopify was buying Six River Systems. So it was a little bit, frankly, a little bit scary, but it worked out really well. The timing, the announcement, and we ended up having a lot of fun. We had a fantastic event, and frankly, Flow 2020 is coming up. So our users conference is called Flow. We're taking a little bit of a different tack this year with it being virtual and online. So we're opening up to folks who are interested in Six River Systems. There's no fee to participate. It's 2 days here on September 16th and 17th. 5 hours a day of really great content, networking, the ability for folks to, to talk to our existing users who use the system, to sharing ideas. It's really an exciting event, and we put a lot of energy into planning this. By my back of the napkin math, we've invested over 4,000 human hours of development to develop the Flow 2020.
That's almost 2 work years. Right.
Yeah.
Well, as Greg and I, we admire organizations that do this. I mean, whether the AIAG or some of the other groups out there that really, they realize how challenging it is right now, and for that matter, including from a funding standpoint, right? And who's got money to spend a ton of money on registration fees? So groups like Six River Systems and Shopify that team up and put 4,000 hours into a free event to help folks professionally develop, network, and let's face it, have fun. I've seen some of the things that will be offered to attendees over these next 2 days. But Chris, beyond all of that, and the keynotes, you're going to hear from some of the movers and shakers from both organizations. What's the one thing that you're looking forward to the most?
I mean, there's so many great things. We do Fit at Flow, which is workouts with Olympians. We have Flow Fun, where you can take a wine tasting class or a mixology class or a cooking class. There's a lot of fun baked into it and a lot of networking. Our product team comes out and talks about what's coming, and we get feedback from our customers of where to invest our R&D dollars in the coming year. But actually, for me, I'm most excited about the content that our customers are bringing to the table. There's a lot of investment this year, more so than ever, of our customers sharing their experiences with others, and I love that. Right, I love hearing from our customers. So.
Absolutely. That's the North Star. Y'all, as we've gone through the 2 days of programming, a ton of really valuable tracks. I love the fun factor, the mixology, the wine tasting, some of the cooking, some other little things. You need departures. It can't be work 24 hours a day, or maybe it can, but at least we split up some of our attention.
You should have a drink if you're going to.
Well, hey, there was a.
You can sprint for a while, but you burn out. You can't sprint, for 9 months, right? We've been in this pandemic for 6 months. It's time to have some fun and break out and do it responsibly and remotely. So we found some good things there.
I've got 2 more quick questions for you before you leave. Memory asked about the link to Flow 2020. We've got that conveniently in the show notes, especially if you're watching via Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. It's right there in the show notes. And then Amanda looks like she went ahead and put it into the comment feed. So everyone should be able to register, learn more and register via that link there. Good stuff there. All right. So Chris, we had a question come in earlier from Benjamin Goldklang. You mentioned Black Friday and how for some organizations, they've been in nonstop Black Friday mode. But any quick thought about what Black Friday 2020 is going to look like around the corner.
Yeah, no, I mean, if I had a crystal ball, I'd probably invest more in the stock market, to be honest. But what I will tell you is we proactively plan for our customers' peak. Our peak planning started about 4 months ago to support our customers getting the most volume out, right? Using the system. Some operations go from a single shift 5 days a week to 3 shifts 5 days a week, 2 shifts on the weekend days, right? So a lot of planning goes into that that preparation. Our 3PL clients, we have a lot of third-party logistics customers who use our technology to meet their customers' needs. They're coming to us and they're beefing up their systems, getting ready. Don't know exactly how it's going to pan out, but we're doing everything we can to be prepared.
Outstanding, and moving fast. That 6-week thing. Holy cow! All right, so Chris, final question for you, the $1 trillion question. How can folks connect with you?
Right.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, I love this. I love your platform, and I love the networking that just goes on here live with your Supply Chain Now platform. It's awesome. So, Chris Lingamfelter, reach out to me on LinkedIn. The company is 6 River Systems, so it's the number 6 River Systems. Our URL is 6river.com, and if you just put FLOW /FLOW, you'll get to the registration page for Flow 2020. So, but connect with me on LinkedIn is probably the easiest way.
Outstanding, Chris. Really, I love your passion. I mean, clearly you've been there and done it, given some of your background. But man, the passion just comes out of your ears and it comes through the way how you communicate.
My career. I mean, I know the pandemic is hurting a lot of people, and I feel for folks. There's winners and there's losers as every seismic change happens. But quite honestly, personally, we're having a blast on our side. So, well,
regardless of where companies or what sector they're in, whether they're booming or whether they're struggling, to be able to offer resources like Flow 2020, that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And admire what you and your team are doing, especially the cost that goes into offering that. 4,000 hours. So really appreciate that. We look forward to attending ourselves. So Chris hold on a sec. Lingamfelter. Lingamfelter. I looked at your title for a second. It threw me off for a minute. Chris Lingamfelter, 6 River Systems. Thanks so much for your time here this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Good to see you, everybody.
A lot of fun.
Greg, what a we need to hook him up to some of the municipalities. He could power them. I'm convinced. There's between the passion, energy, and really the love for what he does and what they're doing across supply chain, right?
So I didn't want to drag out his time too much, but I mean, he's a busy guy, right? Obviously, but I couldn't help but think about that little thing. And if you look at their site, they're like these little puppies that follow or lead you around the facility. How valuable would that be for fulfillment from store? Right. I think what he talked about is a lot of companies are doing fulfillment in the distribution center. I'm sure some are doing fulfillment from store. And the final thing I would like to point out is if you're an e-com curious supply chain professional or a company that's interested in how robotics or even advanced technology can help you break the chains of certain marketplaces in the marketplace, or give you an opportunity for at least options for fulfillment, it's a great opportunity because it's free.
Right. And to hear from the keynotes they've got lined up beyond the customers, which I always I share that sentiment with Chris. I love hearing from the customers at conferences like this, but to also hear from the movers and shakers at 6 River Systems and Shopify, a great lineup. So y'all check that out, Flow 2020, all about the future of logistics, operations, and warehousing. And again, what's the cost other than time? So, which is important, but still, this is going to be a home run conference. Y'all check that out. But Greg, there's no shortage. There's some other really cool events that we're involved with, and we are pleased to be amongst the speaker lineup for Supply Chain USA Virtual, put on by the home run folks over at Reuters Events. Tell us more, Greg.
Yes, missing Chicago and Gino's East Pizza, but still, and I don't want to start a Chicago-style pizza.
Too late.
So let's pass. I shouldn't have said that. But this is great. This usually happens in Chicago, but as it's virtual and as Reuters Events is, I would argue, the premier events provider. What an incredible lineup of speakers, a long, long list, inclusive of Colin Yankee from Tractor Supply, whose business is exploding, and of course, our favorite, Sandra McQuillan, who is the Chief Supply Chain Officer of the industry, and a slew of others from ArcBest and a ton of other companies that are speaking. Come and learn and grow.
Yeah, and network. And, one speaker that I'm looking forward to hearing from at this event, but beyond the ones you mentioned, is Greg Lemkel, who is CEO of Lineage Logistics.
Right.
Now, there's no shortage of news about cold chain out across the industry for obvious reasons and not so obvious. But these folks I think they've acquired 16 companies over the last couple of years or so. So they are on the move, the largest mover and shaker in cold chain. And
10 in the last 12 months, I think, right?
It's unbelievable.
I mean, they have got to be killing it and consolidating that marketplace and creating some efficiencies. And that is no small task in cold chain.
You are right. So check out that event October 7th and 8th. We've got the convenient link in the show notes. And then finally, a webinar, control towers, all the buzz, Greg, right? We hear a lot about control towers.
Yes.
So our friends over at RateLinks and Agilytics are going to show how they can be set up in 30 days. I didn't know that was possible, Greg.
I don't know where you get the steel these days, but control tower in 30 days is, that's miraculous. And we had the founder of Agilytics and the founder of RateLinks on last Thursday, right, on the live stream. Go back and take a look at that. If you doubt their credibility in the marketplace, take a look at that, and you'll be inspired to attend this for sure.
Control towers in 30 days, fully automated robotics in 6 weeks. Supply chain does not mess around. All right. So if we covered something today, this is kind of an expedited session of the buzz, a busy Monday here at Supply Chain Now, probably for everybody. Hey, if we missed something, check us out at supplychainnowradio.com. You can also shoot Amanda a note if you have a question. You can't quite put your finger on it. Shoot us a note. We'd be happy to serve as a resource as best we can. All right. So, Greg, this was a fast-moving session of the buzz here today.
That's 2 weeks in a row. It's been a whirlwind, hasn't it? Yeah,
absolutely. What's a couple of things that you most enjoyed about today's conversation?
Well, look, I think that there's a lot of bad news in retail, and there's a lot more to come, frankly. But I like that companies are making their way. I like that companies are starting to pivot their business model. We've seen it in small and large companies embracing technology, embracing new business models, embracing efficiency in their business models to fight through this. Companies that do that are going to come out of this stronger, right? And a great example is robotics. I mean, we've talked to so many robotics firms in the last 3 months with Six River and Geek Plus and Gray Orange, right? And again, I love the autonomy, the independence, the options that it gives you to have these ABA, anyone but Amazon type solutions out there, Shopify being the number one out there for sure. But every aspect of your business, from 3PLs, from robotics, from fulfillment platforms, and new marketplaces coming out, right? Yep. So that we need some equalization in the marketplace, and I'm encouraged by that as well.
That makes two of us. And there was a neat article over the weekend. We almost added it to the lineup, but we figured we'd tackle it as more is known about this consumer protection bill that is navigating through California. But I really enjoyed a lot of the sentiment that came out from Shopify's leaders, from Etsy's leaders, that are really echoing what you're saying, Greg. And we won't open that can of worms here at the end of this episode, but we'll probably tackle it next week. Competition is a good thing. It's a really good thing, and I love to see some of the comments on that legislation come out over the weekend. Hey, Greg, really enjoyed today's show. I love the comments, but one thing I missed, and I should have, when I think back of how I prepped for today's show, we had a really neat group of folks get together. I think it was last Friday afternoon. some of our Supply Chain Now insiders, and
some of our community got together, right?
That's right. But that aside, some of our dear friends, some of the folks we've enjoyed hearing from, and they're right there in the comments right now. So big thanks to Jamin and Stefan and Memory and Nerfad and a few others that got together and just kind of, had a chat session, right?
Yep.
Jumped on, got to know each other a little better, exchanged some views on supply chain. Those kind of sidebar dialogues are so valuable in the industry, especially in a challenging year like 2020. And I got to tell you, I admire that. Our whole team here, the comments that came out of that really resonated with us, and that's a big part of why we do it. So big thanks to all the folks that did that, made those connections, facilitated those discussions. We look forward to being a part of some to come. So Greg, your comments, any additional comments on your end before we wrap up today's buzz?
No, I think it's great to see the community expand like that. First of all, I think I applaud people getting together to help one another and have this kind of peer-to-peer group. Jamin sat in on that with them. And he had great things to say about it. So only good things come out of that kind of collaboration. And, I look forward to seeing it. Some of these folks are the future of the supply chain industry. So I'm glad to see them joining forces.
Great point there. All right. So heads up for Thursday. We're still working on the program, but as it stands, we're going to be featuring Jenny Froome, COO at Sapix. She's going to give us some key takeaways from Supply Chain in Africa event they did, which was really resonated with the market a few weeks ago. And we're also going to be featuring Josue, who is part of the comments here today. He leads the operations of a trucking firm out west. And we've been wanting to share some perspective from that industry for quite some time. So look forward to Jamin leading an interview there all on Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern time. So join us if you've got nowhere to go to eat your sandwich and take a quick brief break from your emails and everything else.
Or take us with you when you go to eat your sandwich.
That's right. All right. On that note, we're going to bring this session to an end. Hopefully you all enjoyed Chris from Six River Systems and all that perspective he shared. Check out Flow 2020. Check out the other events we shared. Hey, we all need good resources right now. And those are three that we shared here today that I think you'll get a lot of value out of. So on behalf of our whole team, Greg White, this is Scott Luton, wrapping this episode up the same way we do everything else. Hey, do good, give forward, be the change that's needed. I see you, Stefan. Appreciate what you do. And on that note, we'll see you next time here on Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.